Isn't it weird that you can know what something isn't, but not necessarily what it is? For example, if you just meet someone and then a few days later somebody asks you what their name was, you might struggle to remember what their name was. Oh, was it Bill? Was it Fred? You're like, no, it wasn't Bill. It wasn't Fred. And maybe the other person who's asking you will give you a few examples and they will be like, oh, was it Tommy? Was it Bo? Was it John? And you're like, no, I know it wasn't those. And then eventually they'll get to something and be like, was it Thomas? You're like, Thomas, that's it. And isn't it weird how in your head, you don't know what it is, at least like not at the front of your mind. You don't know what it is, but you know what it's not. So it's part of you knows you have to know what it is at some level, even though you can't quite recall it and you can't quite bring it to the forefront of your mind. So it's this weird dynamic between you can't recall what the name was, but you can recognize when you hear or see the name. And so that's what I want to talk about in this episode is this difference between recall and recognition and how that plays actually a pretty big role in design. But first, this is Design More, Despair Less. Please subscribe to the channel and please follow me on Instagram and on X and on all of the social media. That would be a great way to support the podcast, but one of the best ways to support the podcast is to subscribe on YouTube and then also to rate and review on whatever podcatcher you use, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So getting back into this recognition over recall, it's really fundamentally that it's easier or more readily available for humans to recognize something over recalling it. So if you can recognize it, you get these cues, basically visually or maybe audibly. There's some cue that helps your memory, kind of jog your memory, right? That's what we often call it. Helps you jog and remember, bring back to mind, to recognize, and then you can recall. You can bring that memory back to the front of your mind when you have that little bit of something to cue you, to cue you in on this bit of information. And it's just something that is easier for humans to do. And so there's kind of this fundamental dynamic between recognizing something and recalling something. And it's, if you want to design products, you want to design websites, you want to design interfaces, it's really important to know that it's easier for humans to recognize over recall. And one way that this is very obvious, in a way that we all actually experience it in our everyday lives, whether you realize it or not, is our computers. And our computers have graphical user interfaces. And we have icons, we have pictures, we have words, text, all of these different things to help us recognize what we're looking for. But computers didn't always used to be this way, right? Originally, you had a command line and you would just type in commands and ask the computer to do things for you. And this is very simple, right? It might seem very simple and easy to do initially, just like, you just type in whatever command you want that computer to do. But what it requires of the user is to recall hundreds or thousands of commands, right? You have to literally remember everything you want the computer to do, or you have to write it down somewhere else. You have to keep a list somewhere else to be able to remember all of the different commands to type into your command line. And that's very cognitively difficult. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. It's something that makes a computer intimidating. You really had to build up that skill set. You had to build up that knowledge base. And so one of the big innovations with computers was designing a graphical user interface that had all of these different icons and texts and different things that you could read, and you can click in some areas and it brings up more information so you can understand what you're doing. And often we have an idea of what we want to do, but we don't quite remember what the exact command was. We don't remember exactly maybe even what the text was, but you recognize an image, a picture, or maybe, you have these different drop-down lists. You recognize, oh, I need to go to file, and then that drops down, like, oh, I need to go to save as, and then that, it kind of allows you to work through the process by recognizing different things. And so that opened up computers to a lot more people and just made them much, much more user-friendly compared to the old command line. And so this is a great example of why, as a designer, as someone who creates products that people interact with, it's a great reason why you need to understand that it's easier for people to recognize things over just simply recalling it. And so that could be potentially, even if you're a mechanical engineer, mechanical designer, maybe you need to put, you can use colors. Colors are a good way to communicate things, that people recognize that color, and then they might then be able to, like, oh, okay, this thing is red. It's a shipping bracket. I need to remove that. That's one of the big ways in my current job that we kind of delineate between what's a shipping bracket that should only be on the during shipping and not during the actual function or use of the system, is you make it red. And so it's really easy when you're looking at your system, kind of preparing to get it ready to use. If you see something that's red on there, you're like, oh, wait, what? Like, I don't remember exactly what that is, but it's red. Okay, now I'm recalling everything for shipping is red. All right, I need to remove that thing. Or sometimes it can be as simple as just touch points on the system. You can color those a color, maybe make them blue, a light blue color. And then this communicates to the user, all right, the handle's blue. This other thing over here is blue. I recognize that color as being something that's a touch point. And so that's an easy way just to make that product more user-friendly and communicate knowledge to the user through things that are something they can recognize. You see this with warning labels, right? Like, you might not remember something is dangerous on a system, but if you have a warning label on there that is red and big, people see that and immediately recognize, like, oh yeah, there's a danger with this. There's something I need to be aware of, something I need to look out for. And that's much easier than having to recall. You might go through a safety brief where you're given 20 things that are potential safety hazards on a system, but recalling that, especially, it's hard enough to recall it immediately after the meeting, let alone weeks, months, or years later. So being able to have, in this case, something that's visible helps communicate, helps people recognize and communicate what the design intent is. One other big way that recognition plays a role in products and product design is with marketing. People are more likely to go with products that they recognize. And right, it's easier to feel comfortable. It's something that you've seen it before, so there's immediate kind of gravitation towards that thing. And so that's why marketing, a big part of it, is just getting people used to seeing things. You want to just show them the same thing over and over and over again. And then maybe they don't have to make that decision to buy it right away, but weeks, months, even years later, they see this thing that they recognize. And if they have to pick a product, they're more likely to pick the one that they recognize. For example, you could go for years of seeing car commercials talking about the reliability of Toyota, and you see all these commercials. And for a long time, maybe you can't afford a Toyota, maybe you already have a car, and so you just put it off. But this image just keeps coming up. You start recognizing Toyotas when you're driving around town. And then, years later, maybe you're looking for a new car and you're going to see these multiple brands, you're shopping online. Those Toyotas are really going to pop out to you. That's something you recognize, you feel comfortable with it, and you're going to choose it. So that's how this can play a big role, not only in the physical use of the products, but also just in recognizing products and to help you market your products better and get more people to purchase your products. So that is really the takeaway of this, is that recognition is much easier for people mentally. It's much less mentally taxing, doesn't require as much as something like recalling does. And like I said, we've all experienced this where you can't quite recall someone's name, but you'll recognize it if you see it. It's a very normal and natural experience for all of us. So that's what I have for today for this Design More Monday. I did not get a Fail More Friday out on Friday, but there will be another one, or there will be one coming out this week. So stay tuned for that. As always, if you enjoy this, please like and share. Please subscribe to the Design More, Despair Less YouTube channel. And that is all I have for today. So as always, remember, design more and despair less. Thanks for watching.